Alright guys, this is our next booster on Elizabeth, and I'm looking more at threats she faced at home and abroad. So first of all, again, I mentioned it a little bit last time, when Elizabeth becomes queen, she's got a problem financially. Firstly, different ways that a monarch can raise money. They can raise money through rents and general crownland income. Taxes from trade, this is called custom duty. Basically anything traded between countries, Elizabeth can take a portion. Additional tax, so this will need to be raised by Parliament. We covered this a little bit in the first session, but you should need to ask permission. Justices, this is any fines, she can confiscate lands, and loans. Now loans are interesting because during this period it was very hard to then, if a powerful person asked for a loan, it was very difficult to refuse, and it was even more difficult to then get that money back. Happened back in centuries before with Edward III, who bankrupted Italian bankers by taking their money and refusing to pay back. Loans could be forced. Now, here's a number for you to write down. £300,000 they were in debt when Elizabeth came to the throne, and the annual income was only 286,667. Now, again, that means that this is going to take a while to solve. A legitimate problem if Elizabeth wanted to change much in the country. Right, so here's the map of Europe. These are where the big players in at this time. This is where most powerful countries are in Europe. Now, in the bottom right, you'll see the Turkish. That's really more the Ottoman Empire. They are massively expanding during this period. But for what we need to know, we're really focusing around France and Spain. They are going to be the main players as long as Scotland above them. The Holy Roman Empire is important, but really a secondary importance during this period, primarily because Spain are heavily linked to the Holy Roman Empire. Same family. So this is why France is in particular very important, because France is seen as the strongest, most powerful country, but Spain have got a huge empire because of these marriage alliances. And France feel they are surrounded by the Habsburgs, that's Spain in the south, and the Holy Roman Empire to the east. Now, Netherlands, you can see, is right in between. They'll become very important later on, which we'll look at. But we're going to focus on England's position and why Elizabeth, has a problem here. So, with divisions between Catholics and Protestants are causing conflicts throughout this period. It originates in Germany, so you see where the Holy Roman Empire is. This is where it originates, and it spreads. Now, France here, they are very wealthy and have far more people than England, so very powerful position. Spain was seen as one of the leading Roman Catholic countries. And you have Scotland, the traditional enemy to the north of England. Now, England is a Protestant country. They're very isolated in this. Very few other powerful countries are Protestant for England to make a useful alliance with. So they have to play a very clever game. Scotland are allied to France. This is known as the Old Alliance. Again, quite often when France went to war with England, they would ask the Scots to invade from the north to divide the forces. Now, look at the context of this situation. Elizabeth, it's delicate for her. She has to be very clever and primarily playing France off Spain, because if those two become friends, England's in trouble because they're going to be the target, and they are weaker. England are weaker than these two countries. France and Spain had been at war, but they are no longer. So if you look back to what I was talking about last time, Mary was married to Philip II of Spain, and Philip of Spain had used England in his war against France. Now, that will become significant when I show you the next slide. So, right, let's look at France itself. France, the hated enemy, the old enemy of England. It's the country we've been at war at for the most time. Had the most significant amount of contests, starting with William the Conqueror, 1066. Now, it wasn't too long ago that France had finished off the 100 Years' War in 1453, so there's a lot of resentment here. Now, England used to have an empire, well, land in France. So they had what we call dynastic lands in the south, where you could see Bordeaux on the map. It was called Gascony, and in the north they had Normandy. But England had lost all this land, and the last little toehold they have in France is the French port called Calais, which they had since 1347. Very powerful port. A lot of trade goes through Calais, so very important to keep hold of. Now, the problem here was when Mary sided with Spain against France. Upon the conclusion of this war, Calais was agreed to be given back to the French. Now, I know you're confused probably about the date, 1559. Elizabeth's already in charge there, but Calais had already been agreed to be given back as part of that war that the Spanish didn't do very well in, and England would be forced into. So there's a lot of negativity here. England losing land to France is never good, and Elizabeth's in a testy position. So taking back Calais is one of the most important things to what Elizabeth can do during this period. It would bring a great prestige, and it was one of her primary policy aims. So coming straight out and saying I'm going to get Calais back would have a lot of support. So now we'll quickly look at Mary Queen of Scots and the threat that's coming directly from Scotland. She has a really strong claim to the English throne. As you can see on this family tree, you have Henry VII marrying Elizabeth of York. Now, out of his line comes Henry VIII, but also have a look at this name Margaret. Now, this is where Mary Queen of Scots comes from. She is the granddaughter of Henry VIII's sister. So she is a rival claimant to the throne. In addition, she is half French, so her mother was Mary of Guise, powerful French family, and she marries Francis, who's the Dauphin, or the heir to the French throne. Now, Mary's mother is basically ruling Scotland. When Mary's in France with Francis, Mary of Guise is ruling Scotland with French troops right on the border, a direct threat to Elizabeth. Mary actually becomes Queen of France for a little bit when she does marry when Francis becomes King of France, but that doesn't last long. The key thing here, guys, is Mary Queen of Scots is Catholic. She is seen as a Catholic alternative to Elizabeth. That's important because that is significant when we get to our plots. Mary is that ever-present threat to Elizabeth, and it comes from this line. All right, so guys, that was just touching upon the threats Elizabeth is facing. Hope you found it useful. I'll try and get the next one out within the next couple of days. Okay?